Welcome back to Law and Crime. I hope you're enjoying your Friday afternoon. We are still following the lawsuit against Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital. The family of Beata Kowalski, who was rushed to that hospital's emergency room after a flare-up of her very rare pain condition, was treated interestingly, as was her mom. There was some concern that Maya's mother, Beata, was abusing the child. Hotline is called, investigation ensues, and they separate the daughter from the mom for 87 days. Ultimately, Beata Kowalski dies by suicide. We've been listening to testimony from a medical expert, so let's go back into court for more. This is a pediatric neuropsychologist.
Doctor, Mr. Anderson's going to ask you a new question.
Right.
That's fine.
Yeah. Just the one last question. Did you ever receive, and I don't know, maybe it's the first time you're aware that Maya Kowalski went back in patient at a hospital at Johns Hopkins in October of 2016? Did that come to your attention before this?
No, I wasn't aware.
Well, let me just ask you, did you ever receive, or do you notes reveal, that Dr. Katzenstein there ever called you about your experience with Maya?
Same objection.
That question's allowed. You can answer that.
I have no independent recollection of speaking with her, no.
Thank you.
Brief redirect, Your Honor.
Yes.
Clay, can you put back up 3047-0029? You were asked some questions, Doctor, about Dr. Geron's pediatric neurology and whether there were differentials. Take a look at that for a moment from your perspective as a neuropsychologist. And I'm just going to direct your attention to the plan. Do you know what an EMG nerve conduction study is?
I know of it. I don't know the specifics, though.
Okay. At least according to your review of this report, Dr. Geron continued to try to do evaluations going forward to see if there would be evidence of a physical neurologic condition.
Objection leading. Overruled.
Correct.
Okay. And Dr. Geron spent, at least according to her note, an hour, if you look at the bottom, Clay.
Okay.
An hour going through records, including prior records. True?
Correct.
Let me ask you about a note that Mr. Anderson asked you about. We'll put it up so you can review it again. It's at 0372. And you can read it again, because I have a question for you. Mr. Anderson asked you about whether the pain was from physical therapy or the pain was from something else. So take a moment to read it, and then I'll ask you a question.
Okay.
From your review of the note, did it appear that Maya was having pain from therapy, or did the pain come out of the blue from some other source?
It seemed to come out of the blue.
And then lastly, you were asked about whether there was a discharge diagnosis. And again, for planning for discharge, can you explain to this jury, you're sitting down with the interdisciplinary team to come up with a diagnosis altogether? Is that how this works?
No, the diagnoses, I don't know if Dr. Kornberg enters them, but every diagnosis entered is included in that list.
Okay. Do you contribute your thoughts directly to Dr. Kornberg so he can have the benefit of your neuropsychological impressions?
Yes.
Let me show you what's in evidence as St. Chart Clay, but at 0010. You were asked a question. We'll represent to you this is Dr. Kornberg's discharge diagnosis. You were asked a question whether conversion disorder or psychological factors were part of the discharge. Take a moment to read this, please.
Okay.
Was your suspicion of conversion disorder included in the potential discharge diagnoses of Maya?
Yes, it was.
Thank you for your time.
Dr. Kornberg, a neuropsychologist.
No,
Okay, so as I'm listening to this redirect of the doctor, I just, I'm putting it into the tumbler with all the other evidence, all the other witnesses. Catherine Lizardo, Philip DeBay here as well. Catherine, I just don't make her a big weighty witness. I mean, if I'm listening to this on the jury, I might be thinking, okay, how many more people are you going to line up to say the hospital did the right thing? And on this redirect, I don't know if she was rehabilitated. What do you think?
Honestly, I didn't think there was any reason for that redirect as well, unless I'm missing something here. I thought it didn't prove any points for the hospital, and the questions were more relating to another doctor. And there are so many doctors here that I can't even remember which doctor they were referring to. And I'm sure the jury is thinking the same thing. Doctor who again? So they are starting to be confusing for the jury, but they are saying the same thing, which is the hospital did everything that they could, but I don't think it's as effective as they wanted it to be.
Yeah, Philip, I think there's a danger from the defense in this particular case of trotting out, too many of these folks to just, spout the party line. They did everything they should have done. They did nothing wrong.
I don't know if I agree, Michael, and I'll tell you why. If the plaintiff's theory of liability is correct, that there was medical malpractice, false imprisonment, false reports, you would think that any expert you put on the stand would agree with the plaintiff's experts. The defense experts are saying, no, they don't agree. So what that means is you don't have unanimity in the scientific community about what, if anything, the hospital did not do, or should have done. And again, it goes back to what I said earlier, is did they act in good faith? Did they have a reasonable suspicion, as opposed to being 100% correct? And now you have experts on the defense side showing that really what they did was rooted in reasonable suspicion and in good faith, based on how she presented her clinical history and how she progressed outside the presence of the mother. And when you also consider the rarity of that disease among children her age back then, you're never going to garner unanimity in the scientific community about the right course of action. You're going to have treatment modalities all over the place. So I don't know. I think they're doing a good job.
Okay. So hopefully the defense wants the jury to have your take on this witness and not mine. And you've disagreed with me, so it's been good to have you on, Philip. We'll come back in just a moment. More of this Kowalski case and the others that we're covering on Law and Crime. Don't go away.